Welcome to Hike Over the Hill. I'm Jedi, and as always, coming to you from the thriving metropolis of Rochester, New York. I changed my fleece and my hat so that you didn't think that I always wear the same thing every day. But it's still cold down here. I checked the thermometer, and it was like 48 degrees down here in my basement. So it's the dead of winter right now. Cold down here. So no gear talk today. No Appalachian Trail prepping, no tips and tricks, none of that today. Today I'm just going to tell you why I decided to hike the Appalachian Trail. So if you're not interested in that, you don't want to hear my story, don't watch the video. But this is more for my posterity and for friends and family if they're interested. And you're of course welcome to watch. It is an interesting story, I think. So it's going to be a little lengthy. I'll try to move it along and keep it interesting. So I was in Boy Scouts. Okay, actually I was started as a Cub Scout. My mother was a den mother, and from there I became a Weeblo and then a Boy Scout. And I earned my Eagle Scout rank at the age of 14, which, if you know anything about scouting, that's really young to earn an Eagle. Unusually young. I think the youngest person to ever earn an Eagle was 13. So I was pretty young, and after that I went on to earn the Bronze Palm. And if you don't know anything about scouting, after you get an Eagle, which is the highest rank you can get, you can earn a Bronze Palm, a Gold Palm, and a Silver Palm by earning 5 merit badges each. So I went on to earn 5 more merit badges, got the Bronze Palm, and never went on to get the Gold and the Silver Palm. In case you're wondering, yes, Silver is the highest rank in scouting. It goes Bronze, then Gold, then Silver at the top. Don't ask me why. That's what they do. So I'm just telling you that because I went on a lot of backpacking trips, obviously, when I was in Boy Scouts, and I had all the gear, and it was I shudder to think of the gear I must have been carrying and how heavy, and the cotton I must have been wearing, and the heavy boots and all that. But about this time after I got the Bronze Palm, now I'm like 15, 16, and I'm starting to work. I'm getting involved with a band at school, and starting to date, and Boy Scouts kind of became an afterthought, and I just kind of drifted away from Boy Scouts, and also as a result, backpacking and camping and doing outdoor stuff. And then of course I went to college, and after college I moved out west, where I lived in Los Angeles for 13 years or so. And didn't do any camping out there either. So why suddenly am I backpacking? I've only been doing it for about 3 years now. My wife and I, our first trip as grown-ups, backpacking trip, was in March of 2019. And since then I've been on probably half a dozen backpacking trips. So how? Why? Okay, so it's kind of a funny story. When I lived in Los Angeles, sorry, I've got a little alert on my phone there. It's blocking my camera. Okay. When I lived in Los Angeles, I went to Catalina Island a few times. You take a fast ferry over there, and Avalon's a cool town to visit. And I went there once, and then I went there with my sister when she came to visit me. And I would whenever someone would visit me, I'd say, "Hey, you want to go to Catalina Island?" So I wound up going over there 3 or 4 times. And after I left LA, moved back to the East Coast, to the thriving metropolis of Rochester, New York, I eventually met my wife. And one time we were at a work function, and I may be misremembering some of this, or I may be conflating 2 different stories, so I'll have to talk to her to see if I'm remembering this correctly. We were at a charity event for her work, where you go and you get dressed up, and they have dinner, and then there's an auction to raise money for the charity. So there was an auction for, as I remember it, a trip, all expenses paid trip to Chicago. So 2 flights to Chicago, accommodations in Chicago, and 2 VIP tickets to the Oprah Winfrey show. Now my wife is a huge Oprah Winfrey fan, for reasons unbeknownst to me, but I'm just I don't watch that kind of stuff. So she wanted to bid on this prize, and she did, and she won it. She won the prize, and then something happened, and I don't remember the details. But something fell through, and the Oprah Winfrey show wasn't going to be able to provide the VIP tickets or I can't remember the details. Something happened and it fell through. So as a consolation prize, they said, well, we'll still honor the flight and give you a flight for 2 people anywhere in the country you want. So it doesn't have to be to Chicago anymore. Now we could fly to Alaska, to Hawaii. I can't remember if it was the continental U.S. or if we could have gone to Hawaii. I don't remember. But so we thought about, well, where haven't we been? Where do we want to go? Let's make a good use of this. And I thought, you've never been to Los Angeles. Why don't we go fly out to Los Angeles, and we'll see my friends, and we'll see my sister who lives out there, and we'll do some fun things, and we'll take a trip to Catalina Island. That'll be fun. We'll spend a weekend there. So that's what we did. We got to Catalina Island, and then I had never taken an inland tour. I had always been in the Avalon area. I had never seen any other part of the island, and the island's like 22 miles long, I believe. Or maybe I don't know if that's accurate. It's 22 miles offshore. I think that's what it is. I don't remember what the length of the island is, but in any event, we took this inland tour where they take you into the heart of the island in this old bus from the 50s. And so we're taking photos along the way. It's really cool seeing the inside of the island, seeing the bison and stuff. And we get to this one point on the opposite side of the island from Avalon, and everyone gets off the bus, and we're all taking photos, and we're standing on this kind of cliff, really, overlooking the ocean, taking photos of each other, and the ocean in the background, and the island. We could look down and see the island kind of curving away from where we were standing. And we saw a beach down there with all these palm trees on it. And I was like, oh my God, look at that. There's a beach down there. Isn't that cool with palm trees? And I looked closer, and we're quite a ways away, up on a cliff. And I said, I think there's people down there. I go, honey, look. And sure enough, there's people like down there on this beach. I'm like, how did those people get down there? How, did they take I don't see any boats in this little cove, this little harbor or whatever it was. And so I said to the bus driver, I said, there's people down there on that beach. There's like a little beach down there. There's people. He goes, oh yeah. He said, there's a campground down there. And I said, a campground? Well, how the hell are you supposed to get down there? You take this bus in? He said, no, there's a trail. You can hike around the island, and there's campsites here and there, and that's one of the campsites is right down there. Literally on the beach. You can camp on the beach. And my wife and I look at each other, we're like, you're kidding. Holy crap, that sounds awesome. So that kind of stuck in the back of our minds. This is like 2009, okay? It was a couple of years after we got married. And it was just one of those things in the back of our mind. And, the years went by, and it came up to be, 2012, 2014, 2016, 17. And 2017, I started thinking, what about that campsite on Catalina Island? Do you want to look into that and see what's involved because that sounds like fun, We should do stuff like that while we're still young. So I started looking into it and found out about the Trans-Catalina Trail, and it started, figuring out what we would need to do and the gear we would need to take. And I said, why don't we save up some money and invest in some backpacking gear? We already like to do some car camping. We had done a little bit of car camping, and we had done a little bit of tent camping, like at KOAs and stuff. No backpacking. So 2018 comes around, and I start getting more serious about this, and starting to plan it out, and starting to make lists of gear we're going to need, and started reading about backpacking, and just kind of getting back into it because it's a whole different world now, backpacking, than it was back when I was backpacking in the Boy Scouts. The ultralight gear and everything's all small, and these new materials and whatnot. So we start educating ourselves, and right about then is when an REI opened in town, in our hometown of the thriving metropolis of Rochester, New York. And so we started to go to REI and talk to employees and look at the gear, and took some of the classes there. And so now we're getting serious, and we planned when we're going to go. And I looked at what season. You don't want to go in the height of summer because it's Southern California. It's brutal, the sun, and there's very little shade on Catalina Island. So you're in the sun. You're exposed 98% of the time that you're hiking on that island. So we did a lot of preparation. We decided we would go the week of St. Patrick's Day. That seemed to be the sweet spot. The rains would mostly be over from the winter time, but it won't be so sweltering hot by this point. So we started to make our plan, this is in 2018. We waited for all the Cyber Monday and Black Friday and holiday sales, and all the the gear manufacturers like Z-Packs and the Thermarest stuff and Enlightened Equipment and all these companies that we had learned about, these little cottage companies, Gossamer Gear and all these. And we started buying stuff. We started buying our gear. We dropped a lot of money, a lot of money, too much money, buying things that we probably shouldn't have. And in hindsight, I wouldn't buy them again. Certain things we bought just because we didn't know what we were doing. We brought like chairs with us, like these little folding camp chair, Helinox chairs, if you know what those are. We had umbrellas, for the sun, which actually wasn't a bad idea. That actually does make a huge difference when the sun's beating down on you and it's hot and you're hiking. But in any event, that's kind of how we got into backpacking again. Was doing that trip. We enjoyed that so much in March of 2019. In May, 2 months later, we did the Appalachian Trail. We did the Grayson Highlands, 50-mile section, and we went there right when Trail Days was happening in Damascus. So we went to Damascus, drove down from our house, and we camped in Tent City, and we spent the weekend at the Trail Days Festival and visiting all the manufacturers, the gear makers, their little tents, and getting stickers and talking to people and seeing what other people did and looking at other people's gear and kind of picking people's brains. And then we had a shuttle take us out to, I can't remember, I want to say like Fox Creek Trailhead, but I think I'm wrong about that. It was about 50 miles outside Damascus. And they dropped us off, and then we hiked back to Damascus to where our car was, and then, of course, drove home. And since then, I've done the Cranberry Lakes Trail in the Adirondacks. I've done it twice. I did it solo by myself, and then just this past year, I did it solo in 2020 during the pandemic. And then in 2021, my wife and I went back and did it together because I enjoyed it so much. It was great. It's a great trip. And we also did another section hike of the AT, which was the Roan Highlands. We did that in June of 2021. And then I did another solo trip in November of 2021 down the Finger Lakes Trail and through Letchworth Park. Did the entire length of the Letchworth Park Trail, which was great. It was November. It was cold. I was testing out some winter gear, and but that was a good trip. It was only a 4-day trip. But so anyway. That's why I got back in, or how I got back into backpacking, and after my wife and I did those 2 sections of the AT, we decided when we retire we're gonna through hike the Appalachian Trail, and then I'll have to shoot a different video and I'll talk about why I'm doing it now and not waiting until I'm retired. But anyway, in a nutshell, that's how I got back into backpacking, and. Be on the lookout for another video where I talk about why the Appalachian Trail and why now. Okay? Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.